I would like to call upon Conference Chair Mr. Peter Musaferidis. He is a social enterprise that works in education, youth, communities to promote cultural harmony and well-being for more cohesive society. He is elected as United Religious Initiative Global Trustee for 2014-2018 and recently appointed as the patron for the Model Global Parliament. Please.
Assalamu alaikum. Initially, I'd like us to offer a moment's silence for those people out there who are less fortunate than us and aren't here with us today, and in particular, one of the greatest humanitarians of the last 100 years, Abdul Sattar Edi. For the last 28 years, I've always been involved with culture, in the action of culture. So for me, public speaking is a relatively new thing. The morning before I left for Australia, I went to the bakery that I go to every single Saturday. And the two middle-aged women that run the bakery store are very familiar with a lot of the jet setting that I've been doing. And they said to me, "Where are you off to next?" And I said to them, "Well, actually, I'm off tomorrow to Pakistan." And they responded with like this all of a sudden. "Why are you going to this place? Why are you going to this desert?" They had no concept, no notion, of what Pakistan's like. When Rizwan came to Australia last year, we talked about how we might be able to collaborate. And I mentioned to Rizwan it might be an opportunity for your country to have a conference around culture and eventually see how they can develop a cultural diplomacy policy around cultural brokerage, which I'm going to talk about later today. And he said, "This is a really good idea." But I didn't think within a really short period of time he would be organising it. Not even until 2 months ago, he said, "Oh, it's happening." I didn't think it was going to happen, and I'm amazed at how the whole thing has come together. So congratulations to Rizwan, Maha, and the rest of the Youth Revolution clan. My opening address today is going to take the account of a personal journey. My father migrated to Australia in the 1950s. So did my mother. My mother has been living in Australia for 60 years, and she still doesn't speak a word of English. My father speaks a little bit. My mother never had the opportunity to go to school, so she can't even read and write in her mother tongue. My father, at the age of 86, 2 years ago, said to me, "Look, I have got 5 children. One, a teacher who became an advisor to the ministers. The second one was a chef, and he became a businessman. The third one was a bricklayer who became a builder. Your youngest, sibling, your sister, is a secretary and also works as looking after children at home. But you, I don't understand you. What is it that you do? I don't get it. One day you're conducting orchestras, then you're a creative director, and you're producing shows all across the world. Then you tell me you've got an education program which you deliver to 300,000 children in Australia. And next you're telling me you're delivering programs across the world. I don't understand this thing." It was at that moment that I realised that all the things I did were a vehicle for finding a way to build intercultural understanding, not only as a core value, but as a key competency of global citizenship. I realised in the earlier days when I was studying conducting that everything which wasn't classical, Western classical music was considered subservient. And that didn't sit well within me. I thought my parents have come to this country with traditions which go back hundreds, thousands of years. And there are many other traditions out there. Classical music traditions which predate Western classical music, in some cases by thousands of years. I wanted to find a way to not only conserve these traditions, but revitalise them through an intercultural setting. One of the choirs I used to conduct, we used to perform a song called the Banners of Union. It's a Spanish, South American song. And the last verse in that song goes, El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. The people united shall never be defeated. And all the people in the choir had a very, very, very leftist way of seeing the world. But that never really sat well with me, because I thought, you know what your conviction is, your political conviction, what your worldview conviction is really secondary to the challenges that we have. And we need to come together and find ways to work through those challenges. When I was developing that slogan, I also thought of civilizations, how the Arabic civilization converged with ancient Greek thought and took that knowledge and developed the golden age of Islam, which lasted for 1,000 years. And then how the Arabs were able to develop a system which they gave to all of humanity, mathematics. I thought of the bionic eye and how the bionic eye has come about as a result of many different disciplines coming together from all over the world. Diversified disciplines, diversified ways of looking at the world, to give something to humanity which would have seemed impossible 20 years ago. But all of this would not be possible without dialogue. It wouldn't be possible without intercultural dialogue. And I emphasise the word intercultural dialogue because intercultural means a two-way process. It's not about us having a debate. It's not about us winning. It's about what we're going to take away from that discussion. The conversation is very important. The Arabs helped keep all that classic thought alive. And then in the 1400s, they started to have conversations again. Big conversations. And that knowledge found its way back into Western Europe, which created the pathway for the Renaissance, the rebirth, the birth of enlightenment. Every country has a challenge. Every country has a challenge how it's perceived out there. As Pakistan begins to enter this next stage of economic prosperity, and the prosperity that the economic corridor is going to bring to this part of the world, it also has a great opportunity to draw upon its rich, tangible and intangible heritage and showcase that to the rest of the world. In closing, I want to wish all of you the best over the next 3 days. And whatever conversations you have, I want you to take those conversations away. Don't leave them here. It's important that you tell your families, your communities, your networks, because it all starts from here. It all starts with the ideas that we're going to talk about. Once again, I'd like to hear a big round of applause for the Australian High Commissioner and the Australian Government for supporting this event, and Rizwan and the Youth Revolution Clan. Thank you.
We would request Abdullah Sumbal to please come forward to share the word.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellency High Commissioner, Honorable Rana Mashood Ahmed Khan, Minister of Education, Honorable dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, it's a matter of singular honor for me to make a small presentation to you and share a few thoughts. Let me begin by first congratulating the organizers of this conference. I think it carries immense significance. For those who work in Lahore and by and large in the provincial government, We know for a fact that Lahore is a very happening place. There are so many interventions that are essentially developmental, but the executors, the implementers of those initiatives just can't forget or ignore the cultural dimensions of development, the cultural significance of each and every intervention. Because Lahore being a historical city with a lot of, with a very high level of cultural identity, cannot by any stretch of imagination ignore its culture. Very rightly pointed out right at the outset by one of the speakers, I think it was Mr. Rizwan Anwar, who said that Lahore is the cultural capital of Pakistan, and I think there are no two opinions about that. And the Lahore administration is very conscious of this fact. We're very cognizant when we are executing our initiatives, especially the ones which relate to the realm of development. So I'll try to be concise. What I'm trying to present to you here.
Sir, it's in the session next after this.
Okay.
Just for the opening.
Okay. So I'll do it subsequently. So I'll try and be concise. I think there's a lot to look forward to. Lahore is one place which I think would be the best candidate for holding such an event or such a seminar. Why? Because there's so much to talk about. There's so many realities just hovering around us, and we whether we understand them or not, we are at some level conscious of those realities. And for those who work in the public sector, in the government, those who actually plan and then implement initiatives, they need to be mindful of this fact all the time. So whenever we have our internal discourses, internal discussions, we make it a point that we emphasize this point in no uncertain terms, that none of our interventions should in any way conflict with Lahore's culture, with its unique identity. Because if that is done, it'll be to our own peril. It'll be to our own disadvantage. So with that in mind all the time, that lurking impression in our mind and thought in our mind, we are very cognizant of it. So thanks to the organizers again for assembling us here. I think it will be very educative for all of us. I would request the organizers to share the compiled document that they're going to do at the end of the conference with the government as well. It will be very instructive for the government. I'm sure Honorable Minister would like to have a look at it. We'll take it to the Chief Minister as well. And for Lahore's administration, the CDGL as well, it would really be of immense importance. So thank you all.
She was Director UNESCO Liaison Officer, New York, and simultaneously Director of Secretary General Global Education First Initiative. I would like to request you to please come and share your views.
Honorable Minister of Education, Mr. Rana Mashood Khan, distinguished government officials, Your Excellency Margaret Adamson, Australian High Commission to Pakistan, respected conference chair and organizing committee, distinguished audience, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good morning to all of you. It's indeed a great pleasure for me to be here today. I'm very honored to have been invited to speak at this important conference, which is also a very timely conference. The work on culture, and especially linking culture and the sustainable development goals and 2030 agenda, as we are also sometimes calling it, is indeed at the very heart of UNESCO's work here in Pakistan, as it is all over the world. UNESCO was founded in 1945, so we just celebrated our 70 years birthday last year, and we were founded directly after the Second World War with the noble mission of promoting peace in the world through promoting dialogue across countries and civilizations, through culture, through education, and through the sciences. So to bring people together in these spheres of humanity and really work towards a more peaceful world. As it was just mentioned, currently I'm director of UNESCO's office here in Pakistan and UNESCO representative to the government of Pakistan. I came to Pakistan in November 2014, and I came directly from New York, where I was heading the liaison office of UNESCO to the United Nations. And I had the privilege of following very closely the discussion among member states in the General Assembly on the Sustainable Development Agenda. Those were discussions taking place over 2-3 years, and they were happening every month in the General Assembly at some point in time. And I think it was a great pleasure for the heads of states when they met in September 2015 and were able, all of them, to sign off with consensus on a 17-goal agenda which will guide international cooperation, national development strategies over the next 15 years. There are 17 goals. Some of them are following up on what happened in the previous decade, the Millennium Development Agenda. There are goals related to poverty reduction, to health, to gender equality, to water and sanitation, and to education. All the unfinished business from the MDG, Millennium Development Goal Agenda. And then there are some new goals related to the economy, related to the environment and climate change, and related to peace and good governance in the world. Just a little while ago on the video showed while we were still waiting for starting the formal proceedings, Mr. Ravi Khaker from the UN Youth Development Network talked about using culture for community